Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. And this is our last episode of the World Cup edition. It's Monday, so I have Grumpy in effect over here as the mug. And with us is the Polish Prince every Monday. It's Mateusz. Mateusz, what's happening, man? What do we have? Tea, coffee?
Water again.
Oh, hey, what a
I
disappointment.
was
Okay.
trying to do I was trying to do something interesting and then I couldn't think of anything, so I just went with the water. And it's really cold outside, so I should have done tea.
It is ridiculous outside, and it's only supposed to get more ridiculous. For those who don't know, we're both in Chicagoland. He's in Chicago. I'm more like suburbs. Well, actually, you're a
I'm not
suburban
really
guy
in
too, aren't
Chicago.
you? Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no. Yeah,
They don't
don't
in
don't
Chicago.
tell
They don't count us as Chicago
don't
people.
tell people I'm from Chicago, because if someone from Chicago actually knows where I'm from, they will not let me live a normal life.
Yeah, I don't know why that's such a big thing. Like, when I lived here, if somebody asks me, I'm not gonna say like the suburb I live in. I'm like, guys, like in Chicago, and
Yeah.
like people are like, you don't live in Chicago, like you don't suffer like we do. And freaking out, and anytime we bring up weather, has to brag that it's 48.
Ugh.
48 would be like we'd be sun tanning right now with material shots.
Yeah, they're probably freezing down there because they can't handle it.
Yeah, it's probably cold for that. He's probably like layered up this morning over there in Houston's 48-degree weather. So we'll talk about the World Cup and then we'll talk about the boys a little bit too. Obviously, they had a game as well, which was kind of like a good game to watch, actually. Um, some good things to take away from that game and stuff. But let's get to the World Cup first. The final is here. Well, okay, so I have a beef to pick with you.
Hmm.
I don't know. This is some kind of a Polish math that I'm not aware of. But the pool somehow had like if you guessed the winner right, you got an extra bonus like 150 points or something crazy. I think, but I guess we can announce that Trevor, which where is it at? Oh, there we go. Travis, who oh, that's Travis.
Travis. Oh,
Oh, I'm never gonna hear the end of this. The funny thing is, like, I just said Travis almost again. So Trevor, Travis, it's Monday morning, man. What are you gonna do? Trevor wins it by, despite his love for Serbia and thinking Serbia was gonna go to the final or whatever else he had. He did have Argentina as the winner. So I actually stopped looking at this thing after the Argentina Netherlands game with AG. I thought it was a done deal. But Trevor comes in the last minutes and
oh,
wins the World Cup pool with his correct guess of Argentina. He must
Trevor.
have been it with the Qatar guys over there.
Trevor is wins.
Trevor is wins. Oh my God, it is Monday. Hold
It
on,
is
let's
really
just.
Monday.
So what do you make of the final? We actually were doing live watch along, the longest live watch along
I
I've
was gonna
ever
say.
done. It was obviously with penalty kicks and stuff like that. And honestly, for the most part, until the very end of the game, we were talking about anything from nachos to different stupid stuff. Because really, it was one of the worst finals I had seen in a while until the end of the game.
Yeah, and then after the end of the game, everyone was talking about how it was one of the greatest finals that they had ever seen. Amazing that it took a little bit of time to get there, but I think especially once Mbappe scored those two goals in those 2 minutes, when things really started to kick off a bit, and it was a lot of fun, and the ride was crazy up until the very end. I think we might still be biased. I don't know. I don't think that was the greatest final of all time. I think Istanbul still reigns supreme with that title, in my opinion. But I think it was a fitting way to end the roller coaster of what was the World Cup in Qatar. Like, just emotionally, the ups and downs of this country hosting this, and then the games that we saw that kind of were all over the place too. There wasn't, like there was not a single team that won every game. I mean, typically you'll have the World Cup winner not lose a game throughout the whole tournament. They'll either draw in the group stage or they'll win out or whatnot. But to have a single team not win or not win every game, it shows a little bit of parity, I guess, and just a little bit of surprise, a little bit of fun. But yeah, I think it was a fitting way to end. I would have rather seen France win it, but it is what it is. Both, I think, both teams deserve to lose and both teams deserve to win. So I don't know. I think it is what it is, and I'm glad that we can finally stop talking about the thing that Messi's missing in his career as if that would be what defines him as a football player. I think, but even before this, I think he was the greatest of all time. And I don't think, of course, this helps the conversation, helps the argument, and more people will reach that conclusion now. But I think even before this, I don't think this was necessary to establish him as one of the greatest of all time.
I don't understand why in any sport, in any freaking team sport, it's viewed like that. I mean, they do the same stuff over here with like, quarterbacks in the NFL and NBA players and stuff like that. It's a freaking team game. I mean, it's one thing to, maybe keep coming up short with a great team that has won, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I don't understand why one guy's legacy is determined by the number of rings because he's not playing against everybody by himself.
It's not tennis.
Same thing with Messi. I guess the only thing this would do, and I don't know even if it does, like like the Messi fanboys and Ronaldo fanboys, the Ramis of the world who root for Messi, and like other Ronaldo people. I don't know if this is basically it's just like another more ammunition on the Messi side. I don't know if any guy who was saying until Friday that Ronaldo is still the GOAT, blah, 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 is today now saying, you know what? Yeah, I guess Messi won the World Cup. Maybe Messi's. I mean, or if your mind is changing like that, then what the hell was your case in the first place?
I think the only thing I can think of is if you're someone that's on the fence and you're thinking, I'm right in the middle between Cristiano and Messi. And, depending on what happens this World Cup, maybe my opinion leans one direction for the rest of their career. So I guess I can see that's kind of like, in politics, you have your two sides. You try to get someone in the middle to just kind of lean your way a little bit.
Yeah.
So it might have been the one. But yeah, because if you're a CR7 fanboy, you're not changing your mind. And if you're a Messi fanboy, you're not changing your mind. You're absolutely right. So this was all those fringe people right in the middle, not really sure if they lean one way or the other.
And I always find it hard to like compare players to, especially when they have like different styles. If they were both number 9s or something like that, maybe it'd be easier to change, but they play so differently. The strengths are so different, the physicality and stuff. And it's so needless and useless. Just enjoy what the guy does. I think I do find Messi more fun to watch, I guess, because of the creativity factor more than the taking people on and cracking a shot factor or physicality factor that Ronaldo brings. But I mean, it's like, who cares? Just enjoy it. And, but we do this sometimes. Like some fans like to do this. I don't know why, but so does that taint you? Because my brother was asking that. It's funny that you bring that up. That this is like in the beginning of the game when we were talking that both teams have lost the game in the short tournament. Does that taint it for you in any way? I mean, I know in the league when it's the season, we don't care that the team lost on the 15th week or the 27th week or something like that because we're like, oh, it's a long marathon. Is it really not the same thing in a tournament where they were already guaranteed? Well, I guess for France, I think it's a bit less because they were already guaranteed. Whereas Argentina, they lost fair and square, going all in.
Yeah, and I don't think it does taint anything. I think it just sometimes you just get hot at the right times. I compare it to something like the March Madness tournament. There are teams that do really well in the March Madness tournament in those 4, 5, 6 games that they're playing because they find the stretch there where they're playing really well together, where they're just everything's clicking, everyone's putting in all the effort, everyone's doing exactly what they need to do. And I think if anything, I like that there was a little bit of that in the tournament. I as much as I was rooting for France, I mean, to have a team lose their first game and then have everyone basically say, yeah, they're not who we thought they were. Like, are they even good enough to compete, to make it all the way to the final and then win? I think there is a little bit of to say for their character there, because there could have been an easy situation where they lose to Saudi Arabia and then they just switch off. They're like, you know what, maybe this isn't us. Maybe Messi's bound to not have one. And it was only Spain in 2010 that also lost their first game and went on to win.
I think so.
I think those are the only two situations that happened, and I don't necessarily remember 2010 as a World Cup that I didn't like either. So I think overall it made for an enjoyable tournament as far as the matches. go.
Yeah, that's a good point because I mean, it's kind of gone south like Germany, and and then just like crashed out of the whole thing, and they kind of like came back after despite winning the first one. So that's a good angle to actually look at it too. So I mean, that's the thing. The group stages of this cup were probably like in some ways like the best part of it. I mean, some crazy. I mean, the penalty shootout to a neutral is always fun to watch because no horse in the race for the most part. So as people stress and die,
Yeah.
you're like, oh man, I can't believe we missed that. So just
heart rate's going like this.
Yeah,
exactly. and we're sitting here like it's going like this. We're still a little bit, but it's not quite all the peaks and valleys.
It's all gonna be fine. It's just penalty kicks. But so where do you put this World Cup? I guess. I mean, obviously the group stages were so good that FIFA is like, hey man, wait, we might want to rethink what we're gonna do in the next World Cup, where they were gonna change the group, go back to 3 teams and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, they're throwing a bunch of extra teams in there too, so they're reevaluating what they are going to do just based on that. So, how do you rate this 0 to 10? 10 being the best World Cup of all time. Where do you put this World Cup?
I would give it. I think I give it a 9. I think it's pretty high up there. My history of World Cups,
yeah, your history is kind of short.
It's not it's not as vast as someone else's. The first
that's nice.
The first World Cup that I can truly remember was 2002 in South Korea, because the games were at like 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and I remember I'm young. I'm old enough for this. I remember recording the games with a VCR so that my dad could come home and watch the Poland games.
For those kids that are watching, wondering what the hell that is, we'll throw a link on like Wikipedia or something like that.
Yeah. So I remember doing that, and then I remember saying to myself, "Why did I do this? They're terrible." So 2002, I remember. I think 2010 wasn't too bad either. That was the one in South Africa, right? And then
yes,
2014 was Brazil, and I mean that one wasn't bad either because Brazil lost 7-1, and Germany beat Argentina. So I like that one too. But I think as a whole, I've got to put it up there. I think if it wasn't hosted by another nation, maybe could talk about it even happier. I don't want to also forget that there's still that little dark cloud that looms over anything that we talk about with the World Cup. Is that just it was Qatar at the end of the day.
I think that kind of affects it, right? Otherwise, I think we would easily say it was definitely the best of all time and stuff. It kind of like started with that. It almost had a battle to fight to get up there. So it almost like started with a handicap, as some others didn't. Ryan says it was a 9. When is the last time the last of the group stage meant as much as it did this year? And I think that was like the biggest thing. Like that's why the group stage, I don't, and I'm a lot older than you, Mateusz. You've seen many World Cups, but yeah, only like a 1 or 2 more than you probably. But yeah, I mean, I'm biased obviously with the South Korea one because Turkey went so far and stuff like that, so that probably clouds my judgment. But I think it could have been one of the best we watched in that sense, where the group stages, like Ryan is saying, was so compelling. I mean, I do not remember like rankings changing like freaking like 5-6 times within like 60 minutes of a game and stuff like that. I'm 1 going to 4 and 4 coming to 2 and just crazy stuff. So I think in that sense, yeah, there were some good games during the elimination stages too, because the danger of sometimes having these surprise teams, Cinderellas, like making it to the next round is then they meet somebody of top class and then it's just like a blowout and stuff. And we didn't have a lot of those either. I mean, those games were competitive throughout. I think most of these players in what's considered the underdogs, the fact that they come from the Premier League and the top leagues and stuff like that, I think that gap has really closed. If anything, that's what we saw in this World Cup. But yeah, I think a 9 is pretty fair. I was gonna go with an 8, but you guys convinced me. You know what the hell? I'll go with you guys. I'll give it a 9. So let me ask you this, since you're the young guy over here. So am I just being an old fart when I say, out of all the winners I have seen across the years, Argentina has to be the most tactless and douchey one?
Oh no, I think you're absolutely right in that. Yeah, no, they were something else.
Okay, so I'm not gonna get to okay boomer thing. That's what I was kind of like. What?
No. From Emi Martinez's celebration with his Golden Glove, to just the overall aura of just, yeah. No, I agree with you there. Yeah, it was. We saw it after the Netherlands match, and granted, yes, there was some history between Messi and Van Gaal, and I get that. But as a team, it's still not necessarily the most sportsmanlike. And yes, adrenaline is high. Tempers are high, especially in that game. It got crazier than most. But at the end of the day, like, it's just you like to see graceful winners in a way, especially at a World Cup. This is like the Sunday League, whatever. No one's watching, but there's 2 billion people watching, and there is a little bit of appreciation for graceful winners as much as there is for just good football.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, like I say, like the whole Netherlands thing, the initial reaction of, yes, in your face, I get, but then the aftermath of it still continuing. And honestly, for Messi, for a guy to, go around as like, like he's like now the GOAT and stuff like that, picking a thing with Van Gaal to even talk shit about him after the game seems, I don't know, it was like extremely petty to me. If I was rooting for France, I had no horse in this race overall, but if I was rooting for France in the final, it was really mainly because of that. And obviously they have Konate, so there was like an additional bonus there. But that was really the reason, because I thought, Sparky says Argentina has no class. And that's the thing. That's why I was like, see, like Sparky, I think we're about probably the same age, I think. So I was more like, am I thinking like that because, oh, man, you're old school. It's a lot different these days kind of thing. That's when we get to the young guy over here. But that's why I was like, no, boomer, that was fine. I think like the whole Golden Glove and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, how many kids are doing that now? And is that what you want to be like, and that's what I mean. I don't know where the age thing comes up, where you think of shit like that. But
that honestly felt
what you want to remember for.
Yeah, that honestly felt like it was one of those things where 3 months ago he was like, yeah, if I win the Golden Glove, I'm going to do that. He has a joking bet with a friend. And then that friend reminds him that day, like, hey, guess what? If you do win the Golden Glove, you said you were going to do this. I think even worse than the celebration is the fact that he received the trophy in the first place, because there was a little side-by-side that they did between him and Livakovic of Croatia, and the numbers were drastically different. I mean, obviously, most of the time, award's going to go to someone in the final between the two teams, because those are the players that helped get them there. But overall, his numbers compared to other keepers in the tournament, maybe better than most, but not the best numbers in the tournament.
Because I think if that game ends 2-0, I don't think Martinez is winning that. You would think, right? I mean, that would not be your choice if that game ends 2-0 and France doesn't make that comeback. We almost got the sense, we were joking about this with my brother, that, like they came into France and they said, hey, here's the deal. You guys losing anyway. Why don't you guys lose at the penalty kicks? We'll save you guys the embarrassment of not having a shot on freaking goal. Get you guys to tie it up, make the game a bit more exciting, because this is the ridiculously bad final over here. And then they were like, just you guys still will lose. At least have your dignity. They still get to win. We get ratings. Everybody's happy, because that's what it felt like. But yeah, I think if the game kind of keeps going like that as a 2-0, I mean, it will be very hard to make a case for Martinez. At the end, he did end up winning it for him with that save he made in the last second, along with obviously the penalty kicks, which some of them were like just really, really bad penalties for Argentina as well. It's just that Lloris was not really good at penalty kicks, I guess.
So out of his element, it looked like he was scared. Like he didn't want to commit to a decision. He didn't know because if he was going right or left, he wasn't going completely right or left. He kind of was just doing like a little bounce over. He wasn't getting any momentum off of his jumps. If there were two moments where if he would have just put a little bit extra momentum into his dive, he could have saved a couple. Not Messi's, but the two after that, where he was the one with his feet with Dybala, where that one was close. Yeah. And the one after that, when he dove the right way, but he dove like 3 yards away from the post still. There was still like this much room.
He like fell like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, it was just
like,
And you imagine if he would have actually dove, he would have been able to get the ball. And I think that with penalty shootouts, as soon as one person misses, that goes into the head of the rest of the team. It's really tough.
Yeah.
And then we saw that with Tchouaméni. And a young kid, and I don't know if you saw, Martinez threw the ball away. So you had to go pick up the ball at the edge of the box and bring the ball back to the penalty spot. And that can play in your head, in your psyche.
I think that's the thing. Yeah, Sparky says if Lloris just stood still, he'd have saved 3. I think he would have hit him. It would like a football character. But I think it's Martinez would not get in the top 6 teams in the EPL. Hold on. Yeah, I got to think now too. You know what? I would probably go with that. Okay, Martinez or Lloris? If Tottenham has a pick, who do you take?
Oh.
I know who Gally will be taking, but he hates Lloris with a passion. But
I really hate his antics. But I think I'd have to go Martinez.
Biased now.
I think I'd have to go Martinez over Lloris. I think Martinez does crack top 6 goalkeeper in the Premier League. I'm running through them in my head, and I think he's just there, 6, 7.
Yeah, he's somewhere around there, I think, right? Yeah, you could make a case each way. That's a good a debate one right there. But yeah, so I don't know. It was just, I think with the penalty kicks, that's what gets in the mind is when you have somebody who just say one. I mean, that Tchouaméni is missed, like you're saying. I think it's okay, this guy is good at this, so it's almost makes the taker overthink it. And I almost feel man, some of these guys just way overthink it. This is where the boomer thing comes in again. But the good old days where you just walked up, had a corner in mind, and just freaking slammed it there. So even if you freaking had an idea of which corner, it was hard to save because, I mean, that is a very short distance to take, and a hard shot that's going to the corner in most cases is not going to be savable because even if he guesses right, your shot is going to be faster than how fast the guy can get there, especially nowadays where they can't really get in front of the line and stuff like that. So remember Higuita Loco? Is that the dude that's
backwards
with the scorpion?
Yeah.
He could. Lloris could have pulled that yesterday with a couple of the penalties. I don't think doing handstands. Do that on a good day, leave alone during the penalty kicks. But at least the good news is it's freaking over in some ways. I mean, it was enjoyable. I'll give him that. So never in winter again. This was fun, but let's not freaking do it again. Because obviously we had to watch preseason games at the same time while this was happening in the middle of freaking December. I've never frozen my ass outside then come inside to watch a preseason game. So what do you make of that game against Milan? Any takeaways? I mean, obviously the biggest thing I was looking forward to in this mini off-season preseason camp thing was getting Diaz and Jota back. Neither has happened, and one of them has punted away for another 3 months, unfortunately. But what is your takeaway from the games you've seen? Especially, let's go with the Milan game, I guess, since it was the last one.
Can't give you anything. I was at work.
Christmas.
I saw the highlights, though. I saw Bobby Clark's assist to Nunez, which is absolutely gorgeous.
Crazy. Yes.
And Nunez's finish was really nice too. I think you have to give him a little bit of credit on that finish because that was a tight near post finish. He could have done a couple things. He could have overthought it and done a little bit too much, but he just picked the spot, put his foot through it, and that was it. So from the highlights I saw, it looked great. Thiago's goal was a beauty. So it was fun to watch the highlights. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Pretty entertaining game overall. I was really looking forward to seeing Divock in action, but didn't get to see that. He was on the sideline. Not even on the squad. So Alan says the biggest thing versus Milan was the kids, Clark and Bajetic. And that's the thing. But the problem with that is, I never see these games, and I'm not I can't wait to see Clark out there because I know he's not ready. And this is kind of like a totally different scenario. Especially when these kids come in, by then a lot of rotation has happened, especially for Clark, not for Bajetic. I thought he was really good. I just don't know. It's hard to get your hopes up and count, your chickens when you see these kids, especially in games like this, where here's the thing, it's a lot easier to play in games like this because when club sends you out there, you're like, dude, whatever, do your thing, play relaxed and stuff like that. And you can probably do that. In a Premier League game, when he's coming in, doesn't matter what the hell Klopp says. Klopp can say it, write it on a paper and give it to him, write it on his freaking wrist. Doesn't matter when you hit the field. It's a lot higher stakes game, so they don't play with the same looseness. So the result might not be the same. But I mean, it's great signs for the future. I just don't look at it and be like, I can't wait for the season to start and see Clark out there, kind of a thing. I mean, it does maybe make you say, hey, why don't we, like throw him in more in the 80th minute if we have the game in hand and stuff, maybe. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, really not much to take away over there. So what is your gut feeling when we come back over here? By the time we talk again, we will have taken on City. What do you make of that? I mean, what is your gut feeling? How does this team come back?
I think it'll be a very sloppy game from both sides. I know that both have a lot of great quality, obviously, and it tends to be a pretty fun match whenever we're up against City. So I think it'll be there will be some excitement to it, but I think it'll be pretty sloppy overall. I'm not expecting, both teams are not in season form right now. Both teams had many guys leave for the World Cup, and so I don't know if we're going to get a good quality match. It could be entertaining in the sense that wow, neither team can string 4 passes together right now. Like this looks like City of 2006 and Liverpool of 2016. It's just one of those things where I think it'll be fun to watch, but I don't think we should expect much. I don't know if whatever happens kind of thing. I don't know if we necessarily need to take the Carabao Cup as seriously this year, given that they won it last year. And I'm sure as players, you want to win every game, so every game is important. But as a club overall, I don't think it's necessarily something that have to be gunning for.
Do you think it means more to one team over the other at all?
Maybe it means a little bit more to City since Liverpool got the edge last year over them. So kind of get a little bit of that revenge possibly. But I don't think it necessarily means more to one than the other. If anything, it might mean more to Liverpool because of their current situation in the table, to have something to show for at the end of the season, potentially, if things really fall out of bed. You don't make top 4 if you don't move any forward in the Champions League. It'll be a pretty rough season to look back on if you're bounced from the Carabao Cup in the end of December too. And then all you had left was the FA Cup. And if let's say you lose that, in February, then that's a pretty disappointing season if you don't end up in top 4 or move on in the Champions League.
Yeah, true. I mean, I almost feel like both teams, knowing Pep and Klopp, approach it the same way. Like, whatever happens. We throw a team out there. We want a good performance. I think they're both almost like using it as the most serious preseason game as we
like the Community Shield.
Yes, right. Exactly. It has that kind of a feel to it. That's a good point. It has that kind of a feel to it where if you win, the winner will make it a big deal. The loser will be like, it's the Carabao Cup. Nobody cares kind of a thing. And they will use it to get ready for the Premier League, which when we talk next Monday, we'll be talking like a few hours before the kickoff against Villa. So it'll be like a pre-match at the same time. But just in case you missed it, Trevor, a.k.a. Travis, is the winner of the World Cup pool with his winner guess of Argentina and our Polish prince's jacked up point system where you get 1 point for every guess, and now you get 20.
Can I clarify something here? Can I clarify something here? Because
I mean, if you have to, I guess, yeah.
I picked a different website to run this pool on. This one was found by Gally.
Oh,
and he set this one up.
That actually
There's even a message when you enter it saying, hey, this is Gally. Let me tell you about this run the pool thing. And to think that you're putting it on me because you lost, that hurts.
You know what? Actually, yeah, that makes a lot more sense that Gally is responsible for this jacked up point system.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it all falls into piece now. But either way, Trevor is the winner.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I didn't even see this coming, but congratulations to him. I guess it's good because I don't want it to be like the FIFA tournament we had where I have to award myself or not award anything, at least we have a gift pack to send to someone, and it will be to Trevor. Thanks a lot, Matush. We'll see you next Monday. Enjoy this Christmas shopping season. Any
Yay.
plans? Any big plans for Christmas?
No, just spending some time with family. We get the week off after Christmas through January 2nd. We close down the store, and so I'll have the whole week off, and it'll be great. Yes, it'll be fantastic.
But staying in Chicago, Chicagoland?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm actually going to the Chicago at one
The
point.
Chicago. Well, bring your gun and and keep the windows up. So thanks a lot as always to those listening, commenting, sharing, all that kind of good stuff. Give us a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'll be back tomorrow morning, but even before then, we'll be back tonight for our live Monday podcast, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, with Gally, who can't add up numbers in the pool, and Bickler, who actually ended up suddenly being a huge World Cup fan. So we'll talk a lot about that, I'm sure, and look ahead to the City game. We'll see you guys then. Take care.